A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew, chapter 6, verses 1 to 6 and 16 to 18. Passage taken from the Message version of the Bible. Be especially careful when you're trying to be good, so that you don't make a performance out of it. It may be good theater, but the God who made you won't be applauding. When you do something for someone else, don't call attention to yourself. You've seen them in action, I'm sure. Play actors, I call them. Treating prayer meeting and street corner alike as a stage. Acting compassionate as long as someone is watching. Playing to the crowds. They get applause, true, but that's all they get. When you help someone out, don't think about how it looks. Just do it, quietly and unobtrusively. That is the way your God, who conceived you in love, working behind the scenes, helps you out. And when you come before God, don't turn that into a theatrical production either. All these people making a regular show out of their prayers, hoping for stardom. Do you think God sits in a box seat? Here's what I want you to do. Find a quiet, secluded place so you won't be tempted to role play before God. Just be there as simply and honestly as you can manage. The focus will shift from you to God, and you will begin to sense His grace. The Gospel of the Lord.
Reflections on the Gospel according to Matthew chapter 6, verses 1 to 6 and 16 to 18. We read this Gospel passage every year on Ash Wednesday at the beginning of the Lent. In the days of Jesus, in any village in Palestine, there were people responsible for collecting and distributing aid for the poor, orphans, widows, and wayfarers. This charitable institution was indeed a very good practice, but for many well-to-do people, it often turned out to be an opportunity to show off. During the liturgical celebration of the Sabbath, there was the habit of publicly praising those who had made a generous offer. They were invited to stand up in the assembly and were applauded as examples to all, and they were accompanied to the places of honor and were accommodated alongside the rabbis. Jesus has described those people who let themselves to be put on stage as hypocrites. For a moment of vanity, these people wasted the precious opportunity to do good without being noticed. This attitude of attention-seeking is very much visible even in our own days. Rather than almsgiving, today we speak of solidarity, of sharing, of attention to the needs of others. But how often do we see our acts of charity are transformed into a photo opportunity in the social media? This is a lie to speak of goods of this world as mine, yours, his, or ours, because the earth and its fullness belong to the Lord. Nothing belongs to us. We are only diners invited to the banquet of the Lord. This is why Jesus recommended His disciples to do justice in secret. Do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing. The church fathers had understood this truth so well. St. Ambrose had said to the rich, "Remember that you do not give what is yours to the poor. You only give back what is due to them." There are two forms of prayer: community prayer and prayer in private. Jesus Himself attended the prayer gatherings in the synagogues and in the temple. but he gave great example of finding time for prayer in private. This prayer is not to convince God to do our will and to fulfill our dreams, but to be introduced in His thought, to internalize His designs and to receive from Him the necessary graces to carry out the task assigned to us in the building of His kingdom. In Jesus' time, it was believed that fasting was highly meritorious. It served to amend sins, to move the Lord to pity, to avert His punishments, to ward off calamities. Fasting is not to let anyone know that you are fasting, but true fasting always flows into gestures of love to the brother and sister.